I'm going to have a couple slides here. I just want to give you an overview of what Sage Master Builder or Sage Contractor 100 is also a name for the application. It was originally Sage Master Builder, and they're now changing the interface, changing the application a little bit. Again, my name is Glenn West. I'm with Align Solutions. I'm in our California office in Los Angeles. I'm focusing on this application. So just an overview of Master Builder. It's a complete suite application that is looking around all the operations as well as financial accounting activities that go on within a company. We're going to focus on the upper right quadrant today, but in reality it does bleed down. Estimating will feed different areas both in production and accounting, and I want to walk you through those that integration to see how Master Builder can really drive your whole organization from the estimating part of the system. So when we look at this profit cycle, we really are looking at creating jobs, profitability, and driving it from an accurate estimating system. And the idea is as we generate these estimates and move them into job costs and budgets, commitments and contracts and proposals, we want to be able to make sure that we do have profitable jobs and that we're learning from what's going on in accounting and production and the analysis that drives our estimating as we move forward. So when we look at estimating, some of the things that we're going to talk about and we'll show you is that we do have some ability to track vendor pricing. So we look at items, pieces, parts, inventory. And we're starting to do estimates. I can start to reference now where are things, what did I pay for that part recently, who did I buy it from, do I have it on hand. We have a very simple oriented estimating system if you like. I'll show you a view that looks like a typical yellow pad that an estimator might use, but we can also build a very detailed and assembly oriented estimating system. The idea is we drive through this estimating tool and we'll get to the point where we'll generate a proposal. That proposal is something we can give to clients, and then wait for the next step, contract negotiations and a job start. So we'll come through here, but some of the nice things about the estimating system is it is a database-driven tool. So it looks like Excel, but we do have a database. You've got material. We have databases of material that we can utilize as we move forward and you start, so you don't have to start from scratch. There are things there. We also have the ability to automate budgets, purchasing schedules, and subcontracts, which we'll look at as we go along. So we move along and we take this down into the production side. The estimating system can feed our project scheduling, our subcontract management, purchase order generation, change orders, and project documentation. So we're using that initial starting point to drive the rest of our production as we go forward. So inside Master Builder, there's a standardized scheduling tool that will do Gantt charts and will do critical path analysis. The beauty of this is it's also driven the costs that are in the estimating system. The vendors in the estimating system can be driven down here, so we can do cost-based schedules. It also will help us on the production side as well. We manage our subcontracts, which we'll take a look at. So we've got these subcontracts that are going to be driven out of estimating. So I don't have to re-enter or duplicate my data entry. The system will handle insurance certificates and license and changes. And, change orders will be driven the same way. Purchase orders from a material component of it also. As I do the estimate, I can look at the material items. I can determine if I have inventory. I can use the inventory. If I don't, I can drive from the estimate of materials list and then drive that right into purchase orders, which we'll take a look at. And then ultimately, once the job's started and we start doing change orders, this software will allow me to estimate my change orders. So as I do an estimate for a change order, it'll pull it in, generate the change order documents, and then those change orders will feed the contract with the owner, subcontract and purchase orders, and it'll also drive changes to my budget. And then ultimately, we want to give you an ability to have a place for project managers, superintendents to look at their job in one centralized place. We call it a project work center. We also have a document control application. So once we've got the job now, we can go through and start working on documents, RFIs, transmittals, submittals, daily field reports, punch lists. The interesting component of this, which is something we'll look at, is when I started an estimate, the job itself is capturing information. So I can capture RFI information on a pending job or a job in the bid process. I can start to capture things like plan records so that we have that information, and if we win the job, it just moves forward and I don't lose it. So some really nice features within that. And then we have a nice way to do communications within here, sending documents, reports to vendors, clients, customers, employees. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but at a part of its core, we do have a full accounting system. So it's payroll and payables and billing. So we do AIA type billing. We can print on the AIA. We do cost-based billing, T&M. We do payroll, certified, union, non-union, prevailing wage, direct deposit. All that can be handled. All this will flow right back to the jobs. Handle accounts payables. So we've got out there we can automate bill paying. And then when we get to the analysis portion of this, this closes the loop for us. We can start looking at financial analysis to see how the company is working, provide financial reports internally and externally. We can look at job cost reports to start seeing how is our job doing. The idea there is we can take these reports, and then as we move forward, we can go back to our estimating system and learn from what we've done on a job will help us change our estimating for future jobs. So we make mistakes in our estimating where we determine productivity changes. We can use that information going forward. So we've got some really nice reports in the system. Cash flow, bonding reports are all in here, just part of the basics that you have within the system. So I'm going to just drop out of my my system here, and I'm going to run now and go right over to Master Builder. So this is Sage 100 Contractor. It is formerly Master Builder. The idea here is I log in and the interface is set up for clients. You can control a couple things. We have the standard view, which is showing me a system menu, which are all the modules that are in the system. I can define by individual which of these modules that I utilize and put it in my view, my menu. So you can have a very simple. If you don't want to use this customized menuing tool, I can actually hide that menu and then just rely on the tabs that we have. So this is we find a very simple, easy to use orientation. It's something that you would find in QuickBooks or Peachtree. The idea is we want to make as much of this as visible as possible. So when I look at my projects, I should be able to see a visual workflow of what goes on in my projects or how I manipulate my vendors to invoices and select payment. Unlike QuickBooks, we actually have the ability to modify these workflows. So down here you can see where I can drag tasks off of the bar and use lines to connect them. So you can build your own defined tasks by these project groups. So now we can internally, when we have new employees and they start, when we have them dealing with payroll, we can build the payroll tasks right here so they can see exactly what we want them to do. The other thing that happens is when I highlight the payroll tab, it does give me access to the processes that are involved inside payroll or the processes that are involved inside project management. So we look at this now as a nice way to look at a process workflow visual, and at the same time we give you one area that will have all the reports. So there are hundreds of reports that are available by different workflow that we have out here. And I can drag these reports and put them on my area. So in this case I have processes for capturing daily field reports, but I can also have reports that are out here so I can get very specific about what I want to see. And if I really want to make it, I can just put my my reports on here. So this in orientation is meant to be very simple and easy to use. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to focus on estimating for a while and take you from the start and work our way forward. The key to this estimating system is that it is a database and not just a spreadsheet like Excel. And with the database, that allows you to build logic into the database and utilize it over and over so that we don't have cells where calculations are stored. They're actually in the database. The key component for the database is that we have to come up with a set of parts. And we have a set of parts that are available. You can build your own parts. But the idea is that I build kind of a cabinet system where I've got all my concrete parts or I've got all my masonry parts. And your industry will utilize parts that are appropriate to your industry. But when I look at this concrete, I can go out and look at a material item, and the important thing that we find within this item is that we actually utilize it throughout the whole system. So this is where the integration really drives as we move forward. So I've got some shotcrete mix, and this can, again, can be anything you want. I can have an internal part number that I may want to reference. I can utilize a unit. Maybe this is in square foot. This is going to show me what part class I want to use. So now, as I build a part, I can put it into a folder. So this is going into my concrete folder. This cost code is telling me where I want it to go within accounting. So this is where it's going to reference the cost code for material, for purchase orders, subcontracts, budgets, as well as potentially for billing if you want. This tells the system what type of cost it is. It's a material cost. And then this field will tell me where I want this to go. So what we're driving now, though, is I'm identifying these attributes that are associated with this part. These attributes are going to be utilized throughout the software. So if this is a very specific item, I can put a manufacturer here or their part number. When I get into cost and billing, I can put in a default cost for the item. I can put in a markup and a billing amount. So these parts, not only used for estimating, can also be used for billing as we move forward. We can handle EOQ information. I can tie a labor part to this as well, so we can have labor and material. And then this tab will show me if this is a part and we have it in inventory. This is where I can go out and look to figure out what vendors have I ordered this from, where do I have this in inventory, and which locations or warehouses, and then what's my purchase history, exactly where have I purchased it overall. So now I can see this item and any interaction I've had with this item with outside vendors, my own inventory as well. And if I click on this item that says it's serialized, it will show me every item by serial number. So if you're in you have high cost items and you're in the audio-visual world, or you've got pieces or parts, large mechanical pieces, and we want to capture serial numbers, and then the serial number may flow over into the service side of the world, we can do that as well. And this is where I'd identify if this is a service piece of equipment and then what the OEM warranty is. So everything about this piece or part now is going to be pulled up as we look at the next step, which is going to be actually an assembly. The idea with an assembly is it's a grouping pieces of parts or parts that are out there. So now we can come out into the system and say, I want to find an assembly, and let's just say I've got assemblies now that can be in different areas within the software. So I've got finished assemblies, I've got concrete assemblies, masonry, but let's just say we're going to go find a concrete assembly, and let's see if I've got anything in here. Concrete. There's a slab on grade. I'm just going to grab one to show you a little bit about it. But these pieces and parts are all of the parts that we would utilize for slab on grade. And we're looking at a length, which is going to be my calculation, my formula. So the parts now within here are identifying the quantity. They're also identifying what type of cost, where it's going to go within the schedule, and then what cost code am I going to identify this for. So as I do a takeoff, this assembly is going to generate items, and those items are going to be pegged back into cost codes for budgeting purposes, for purchase orders, subcontracts, as well as billing if we like. So if I move along here, we can take a look at different ones. Here's a form for a pool. Here's wire mesh installation, multiple items that are out here. So it's very simple to get this as we move. One of the nice things that this will do, and I'm going to grab one from the bottom down here. We'll go to the mechanical side, and we'll get a commercial dishwasher install. These are all the pieces and parts. So if I can get my estimators to utilize assemblies, and those assemblies will control all the pieces and parts, then I really fall away from the losing items or not including items. So if we can put an assembly for an install, or put an assembly for a door or a window, or whatever you have to do, now I can really control that. So we've got a total cost here of $16.86. Because we also utilize this in our service system, what I can do is do the basic takeoff for parts detail in an assembly, and then use the system to calculate a flat rate. So if you're doing service work, the estimating system is actually used to calculate your flat rate book. And we can take these flat rate items, print them in a book, give them to our service technicians. So when they quote the price to remove and replace a dishwasher, it's going to be $16.86. And we know where that money has come from, where that price has come from. And it includes our markup and the price we want to sell it for. So this assembly tool is utilized throughout the software, but it is driven out of our estimating world. So what I want to do is I'm actually just going to jump in to look at a couple of estimates that we got out here, so I can show you some key components, and then I'll walk you through the process kind of from a workflow. So what I want to do is grab an existing estimate and give you an idea, show you what's out here. So what I've got now is an estimate, and the job is job 3. It's for 14 First Street, so it says a commercial general contracting job. What we're building here, and I'm going to auto-fit my columns to get more on this. What I can do is actually go out and look at the job, and from this job, from the estimate, I've jumped out to the job, and it's telling me that the job status is current. The beauty of this is I can start to take off jobs, starting my estimate in the bid status, and then keep track of how those are. What this allows us to do now is to get a backlog. So if we can utilize the estimating system to start jobs and estimates and move them through our status from bid to current, now I can go back and run reports to see what kind of jobs I have under bid. And then the tabs below are actually identifying who the client is. And then if I click this, it'll actually take me out to the client, and I can then find information about the client, what the status of the client is, who we communicate with in the client. And then what you'll find at the bottom of all these screens, there's more information. So from this client, if I want to see the other jobs we've done for the client, I can just double-click on this, and it shows that I've done 3 jobs for this client. We can look at any equipment or locations. If we have service locations here, I can go look at all their receivables invoices or service invoices, and I can also see any of the contracts that are out there. So this is showing me all the billings we have for the 3 jobs that we have. So we've done $100,000 in billing. So the beauty of the SATES 100 Contractor or Master Builder is that I don't have to move from module to module. I can get to everything I need here. So while I'm sitting on this job, which is current, this is giving me information about the job, the personnel that we're dealing with, the context that we have within the job, and then the projected dates when we expect plans and bid dates. So I'm accumulating all this, and I can do this in the bid stage, which I'll show you. But then when I do move it to an active job, all of this starts accumulating it. And then at this point, I can actually go out and see the history of the job from one screen. I'm going to save this. What I think is important here is I'm actually in the takeoff, and the takeoff is made up of columns. So you have the access to have all these different columns, and you can include these columns in something we call the view. So we can make these screens as complex or as simple as possible. So this is a screen that now has every one of the columns out here for an estimate, but that's probably more detail than we need. So I'm going to go to a yellow pad, which will just give me some basic information about this estimate: cost, profit, overhead, extended price, vendor, all that here. Or I can actually utilize these views for the different processes that I may be in. So while I'm doing my material survey, I may just want to calculate quantities. I then may want to take that and move it into a yellow pad where I start to identify overhead and profit, and then what vendors I may or may not want to use on that. If we don't identify vendors up front, when we get to a later process, we may do the buyout on the job by just going out and saying, I want to change the screens to make it more like a requisition screen. So all I'm really looking at now are my quantity and then who the vendors are I'm selecting and where I want this to go inside my requisition tool. So you define these as you go. They come with some standard ones, but you're going to have the ability to define one, in this case, for schedule. This is just identifying the vendors that I'm using and which tasks or activities that we have out here. Or we can go back out to this yellow pad as we go along here. So within this grid, each of these line items can be a part from the database, or it can actually be just something I entered in like this one. The other thing we have access to do is, in this case, I'm identifying multiple line items where I will expect quotes from excavation subcontractors. So within this, I can actually identify who the 4 vendors are that I want, and then what the quotes they provide. And then as I select one of the vendors, this will go and actually be one of the driving factors for us. So what we look at within this is the integration that we have. One of the first places that we can use this, it really revolves around this area. So if I'm identifying 4 subcontractors that I want to get quotes from, and then I actually identify who the vendors are for those quotes, I can go to my export and tell the system to go for this and actually go out and identify which of these vendors that I'm looking for to export and set up a request for a proposal. So the software will take these vendors that I've said, I could take the 4 of them, I could generate a request for proposal, and then from my RFP system I can send out either email or fax or print and mail an RFP and put whatever I want on that RFP. So when they return their prices, I can capture their prices. When I put in here that I have a quantity of 1, that tells the software that I've selected this vendor, and then later when I'm ready I can actually export out all of my subcontracts or all of my purchase orders. Then the software will take every line item and determine by the type of cost, in this case it would be a subcontract, it'll take that line item for sightline excavating and it actually will generate a subcontract record in the system based on my estimate. So we can drive from this tool, request for proposals while I'm shopping material or subcontracts. Once I've selected material, subcontractors, it will generate purchase orders. If there's subcontractors that are doing work, it'll generate subcontractors. And then I can also utilize this to go out and generate a proposal if I want to the owner. So we have that in the system. Once we've won the job, we utilize estimating to drive change orders. And then this tool will also, once we've won the job, I move it into a bid state. It'll generate a budget for me. So everything around the production of the software, schedules, budgets, commitments, subcontracts, billings, everything can be driven from this tool as we move along here. And then the tabs along the side are just a way of simply and easily looking at this. So as I've got this estimate in here, the software will go out and recap this for me by cost code. So these are all the costs and hours I have by cost code. Or these are all the costs that I have by type of cost. Or these are all the tasks that I've identified in this, and the hours and the costs that I'm going to send over to my scheduling system. And these are all the vendors that I have from this estimate that I've identified. And then if I'm using bid items, these are all the bid items that I have that are out here, and then the costs associated with those. So it's a pretty centralized world that we can utilize now to break the job down into bid items and then do estimates by bid items. I can also phase the job. And a phase on a job might be building 1, building 2, floor 1, floor 2. So I can take the job off in the format that I need to do to provide a schedule of values as well as sub-job capability. So I'm going to drop out of this estimate real quick and try a different one. And we'll go to this estimate. And then I'm going to look at not the one we were looking at, but more of a residential estimate. The idea within this estimate is I've actually done takeoff by bid items because I'm going to provide the client a proposal by bid item. But I would like to know within that bid item all the costs. So my bid item for site work is showing me that it's $6,000 of a total $234,000. And then on top of that I add overhead and profit, which gives me extended. So within each of these I can see exactly what my gross margin is for the bid item, and I can see what my overall gross margin is. So we can modify those as we go through here. So this becomes a big component for us as we move along. So again, I can use these recaps to show me what each bid item is going to go out, what portion of it. We can also come in and use the software to calculate if I want to put any liability insurance or bonding on here. And then I can look at the bid summary overall. It shows me that my 234 with profit and overhead is really 296. And I can mark it up an additional 10% if I want, which adds another $29,000. So my total is $326,000. It's driven off of my takeoff. Once I win the job, that's when I can start to go out and have the system update throughout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back out and show you one more estimate. And this one is one I started last night, so we're just going to grab my John Smith job. I made this very simple. Basically, I'm not using bid items. I'm using different assemblies to restore water damage, and then I'll add an alternate in here. And I've got all these items, and I've identified what's happening out here and where they go in the cost codes and what's going on. So based on this, there's a couple things we can do. We could just come out and print out a bid summary if we want. And the bid summary is just a simple way of looking at exactly what we've got in here. It's $14,000. I'm going to show you two things. One, we have a report writer in the system, and I'm going to show you some output. Half of the output is from our own report writer, and half of the output is from an applet that sits on top of Master Builder that is gaining, people are becoming pretty interested in. And I'm going to show you the applet is actually it allows me to take documents inside Master Builder and actually merge print them right into Word. So if you have a proposal and you want to use that proposal over and over and you like it within the environment, this tool will actually take all of the information that I have, which came from my project name and then their address and a customer that I'm working for, and it's gone and it's read off of the estimating system the different areas that we've got here. We had restore water damage and all the things that were going on in there. We had to add an alternate, and it came down to include exactly what we were going to do, and will show me whatever the total is we've included in that. So we've got a really nice way of taking what's involved and what's included on an estimate, and by utilizing notes that we have out here, I can have a really nice proposal generated in Word, again, that's driven just specifically from my estimating system. So let's just assume now that I've got an estimate in here, and then I've gone through and I've sent over my proposal, I've sent over my purchase orders and subcontracts, I've sent over my budget, and then I've also sent over my schedule. So this one component is actually going to allow me to go over now and look at things like subcontracts. So what the estimating system did was to send over a subcontract. So if I go to my last subcontract that we have out here, there is, let's look to see what I've got out here. I'm going to go find we have an e-bid. No. We'll just look at one that's in contract, and we'll find one here, current. Let's grab this one. Let's see. We're just looking for one. There's one we'll use right here. So I've got a subcontract out here. It's come from an estimate. It's showing me that it's for this job. It's Samson Electrical. These are the items that they're performing for this subcontract. There's the dates of the subcontract, and there's the price. So what I can do is if I can either utilize a subcontract I put into our report writer, like this one, my subcontract agreement, Samson Electrical, there's the job information, there's the client. It's pre-printing or it's filling information about the contract. Some of this is static text. Some of it is stuff that it is going to pull, kind of a merge print. But we do have this ability to build now a very detailed subcontract proposal, change order that is all driven out of the estimating system. So we've got a subcontract there. I want to kind of work over real quickly and look at a change order as well. So we've got a change order capability, and these change orders, again, can be brought in. In this case, this is going against the job that we've got. I brought this actually from, it was pulled over from estimating, and then from this one change order, what we can do now is I can look at the price that I've requested, $13,000, the price that they've approved. On this tab, it will actually show me any changes to my budget. We can also identify the subcontractors that are doing work, their subcontract, the line item of the subcontract, and the change orders, which will give me a gross margin that we've got out here. So I'll show you one that has a little more detail, but what I wanted to show you here is our ability to take this as well, a subcontract or change order, and if we want to use the applet, the Word merge applet, it'll go ahead, start Word, and it will pull a template for a change order. And this change order was driven out of the estimating system and has now pulled the data that I put in for patching that I've done, given me a price. It shows me exactly what I need here. So it's very simple within Master Builder using estimating and or driving estimating into the other areas, in this case like change orders, to drive this as we go along. I do want to find a change order. This one's a good example. This first tab is showing me exactly what I'm requesting from this client. This is what I've estimated my overhead. This is what I requested. This is what was approved. This is where it's going to go in the billing basis. This is how I'm changing my budget, and then this is the subcontractor, their subcontract, and their change order. So from this one screen, I'm actually showing that I have a gross margin on this change order of 24%. The beauty is, if I want to bill this change order separately, I can. If I've identified additional material other than change to subcontracts, I can create purchase orders. And then all this could be driven right out of the estimating system because I started a change order as a physical estimate. Next place I want to look is I'm going to drop down into the scheduling tool. So what we've got now are schedules. These schedules are driven from the estimating system or can be manually entered. And I'm going to come out here and actually I'm going to go out to the very last one, because what I've done is I've told the system that I want to accumulate all of my active jobs. I want to put them on one schedule so I can see exactly where things are happening. But I can also go out into an individual schedule. This schedule can be have been brought over from estimating. So when I reformatted and sent my estimate to scheduling, it didn't go by cost code or by billing item. It actually went by task. And then what was brought over by task was going to be the actual duration and then the dollars. And then all I need to do is come into the schedule and start putting in start and finish date. And then what we end up with is a Gantt chart, which can work through a critical path. And then what we'll find here is as I highlight these items and I right mouse button click, it's allowing me to assign employees or vendors. So if I click on a button that shows me subcontract and I go line by line, this will show me all the subcontractors that are associated with each line within my schedule. If I click the employee side, it will show me the employees that I have associated with this. So now we're giving you, within Master Builder, the ability to drive from an estimate down into a schedule and make it cost loaded. So when we look at this, and I go to my reports, one of the great reports we have in here is because estimating has dollars, and then I'm sorting an estimate by task, and those tasks now have dollars associated with it. I can come through and give me a week-by-week cash flow, which will give me the total for the week and then the running total. So I could very simply and easily give a customer the idea that I've told them it's going to take me 6 months, and this is a basic overview of where we're going to spend money those 6 months. The other thing we can provide within this is we've got subcontract notices. So if I've identified subcontractors driven out of estimating, I can pull up reports, send them, schedule them, which will show Samson Electric for the time period that I've identified. These are the things that we've got them scheduled to do. So now my communication on schedules, which was initiated from estimating, can be driven out of the system. And we've got full sets of reports for call sheets and resource reports that are all driven, again, from the estimate into the schedule. And then I think the last place we want to take a look here, so we looked at project management. The software brought over those change orders. It brought over purchase orders. It brought over subcontracts. It can bring over proposals. We can utilize all of this driven right out of the estimating system and utilize that as we go. And then what we end up with are job costs that is driven. So now when I look at my jobs, and we'll go pull up a job, and we'll just find one that's already out there. It's in current state. We want to look at this commercial GC job. As I grab this job, the software will show me the bid items that I've associated with it and what I bid. If we have phases, this will show me the budget that we've got within the system. This budget was actually brought from estimating. The other thing that you can do is if estimating is not a component you want, all of the grids within Master Builder are cut and paste. So if you have an estimating system and it's in Excel, we can just cut and paste your estimate as long as the columns match. and pull those right into the system. We can go look at all the purchase orders that we've got out here. These are the purchase orders. They were all driven out of estimating. The beauty, though, is when I look at this purchase order, I double-click on it. I can drill down just like I can do in QuickBooks. I went from a job, I identified all my purchase orders. I went out, looked at the purchase order, and I have access to everything around the purchase order. If we want to see any information about the vendor, maybe we want to go look at insurance certificates, I can come out now very quickly, go find the vendor, find their insurance certificates, and see what we've got going on with that. I don't have to leave the system. I'm drilling my way down into the data as we go. We can also come out here now and look at subcontracts. If we have any here, this is what would be shown. I can look at change orders here. We can look at the total contract amount for this job. I can look at invoices that we've sent as well as payments we've received. So everything is available from this one application. And the beauty of it as we look at this is that it's all driven from estimating, and this estimating system will push throughout the rest of the software. So I showed you one applet, which was the word merge. There are more out there. So this, just briefly, PlanSwift is a digital takeoff tool. It reads electronic plans that can be drawing files or PDFs, and then it allows you to do takeoff. The beauty of this is that there is a plug-in that will link this to Master Builder. So when I go out here now, and this will take a second to load up, but if you do get your plans now in an electronic format, and you want to do your takeoff from this, you want to utilize this, the software will actually go out and read our assemblies and our parts from Master Builder. We can do takeoff specifically from these set of drawings, electronic set of drawings, and we'll have those drive their way right into Master Builder. So it's a way to have our Master Builder estimating system that will actually go out and let's go close this. We'll let this move forward from estimating. So we're at 40 minutes. I wanted to leave 10 or 15 minutes for questions.